At this moment of turbulence and change, the significance of China-India relations has become increasingly evident. China-India cooperation benefits both countries. China and India are important neighbors, major developing countries, and emerging economies. And both are at a critical stage of national development and rejuvenation. China and India are each other's important trading partners, with their annual bilateral trade volume exceeding 100 billion US dollars for many consecutive years. For two neighboring countries of such size, unity and cooperation are the only way to achieve common development, while confrontation and antagonism will only lead to a lose-lose situation. China-India friendship benefits Asia. China and India are the double engines of economic growth in Asia. The combined population of the two countries is 2.88 billion, accounting for about 35% of the world's total population. The combined GDP of the two countries, calculated on the basis of the nominal exchange rate, amounts to 23.4 trillion US dollars, accounting for about 20% of the world's GDP. The 5 principles of peaceful coexistence, jointly advocated by China, India, and other countries, have become the basic norms of international relations and the fundamental principles of international law. Today, as long as China and India live in harmony and achieve mutual success, we can continue the Asian miracle in the turbulent international situation and serve as the ballast stone in safeguarding Asia's security and stability. China-India unity benefits the world at large. Standing at the forefront of the global South, both China and India are important members of BRICS, SCO, G20, and other multilateral mechanisms, and pioneers in promoting reforms in global governance. At a time of hegemony, protectionism, power politics, and bullying, China and India have the responsibility to take the lead in promoting an equal and orderly multipolar world and enhancing the representation and voice of developing countries in international affairs. When China and India join hands, there is great hope for the democratization of international relations and the development and growth of the global South. So, dear friends, looking back over the past 75 years, the development of China-India relations has not been completely smooth, but friendship and cooperation have always been the main theme. There may be many challenges ahead, but the direction of development of China-India relations should be clear, and unity and cooperation is our only option. To this end, we should work together in the following directions. First, enhance strategic mutual trust. In the face of an uncertain international situation, more and more people of insight have realized that for the two major developing countries with over 1 billion people respectively to rise together, we must avoid mutual suspicion and consumption. We should earnestly follow the important consensus reached by the leaders of the two countries, view and handle the bilateral relations from a strategic and long-term perspective, establish a correct understanding of each other, insist on the correct positioning of China-India as partners, not rivals, and as opportunities, not challenges, and manage differences through dialogue so as not to interrupt our cooperation. Some people in the Indian strategic community believe that China wants to impede India's rise. This is undoubtedly a neglect of Chinese cultural traditions and a misunderstanding of China's diplomatic philosophy. Since ancient times, the Chinese have always advocated that all things should flourish together without harming each other. All ways of life should thrive without hindering each other, and have advocated the appreciation of the beauty of others and the pursuit of harmony and coexistence. President Xi Jinping's proposal to build a community with a shared future for humanity is precisely a
Priya added a hotel to her flight just because it had a floating breakfast. Expedia, made to travel.
And development, and equally wishes the same for India. As Mr. Deng Xiaoping, the former leader of China, once said, a true ancient century only comes when China and India are both developed. Secondly, focus on common interests. At present, India is implementing the initiatives such as Self-Reliant India and Making India, and is committed to becoming a global manufacturing hub. China is advancing Chinese modernization on all fronts and promoting high standards opening up, which will provide new cooperation opportunities to all countries, including India. We are willing to work with India to enhance the alignment of our development strategies, strengthen exchange of modernization experience, and jointly enlarge the cake of cooperation. The economic and trade structures of China and India are highly complementary. We welcome more Indian commodity to enter the Chinese market. India has a competitive edge in IT, software, and biomedicine, while China is seeing rapid expansion in the fields of electronic manufacturing, infrastructure construction, and new energy. If connected, the two major markets will produce an effect of 1 + 1 bigger than 2. The Chinese side welcomes more Indian enterprises to invest in China. It is also hoped that the Indian side could provide a fair, just, and non-discriminatory business environment for the Chinese enterprises in India, so as to promote common development of industries and benefit the people of the two countries. Thirdly, strengthen ties between the two peoples. Since taking office more than 1 year ago, I have visited quite a few places in India. While I have personally experienced the charm of India's cultural diversity and the friendliness of the Indian people towards China, I also realized that there is still a lack of communication between the two peoples, and we still have a long way to go to achieve mutual understanding. China has been actively promoting China-India people-to-people exchanges. Last year, the Chinese embassy and consulates in India issued more than 280,000 visas to Indian citizens. Since July this year, a total of 12,000 Indian pilgrims have gone on pilgrimage to the sacred mountain and lake in Xizang of China, fulfilling their lifelong dream The competent departments of China and India are engaging in intensive discussions on issues such as the resumption of direct flights, the mutual dispatch of resident journalists, and visa facilitation, striving to achieve tangible outcomes at an early date. China is willing to work with India to continue friendly exchanges in all walks of life, so that people of our two countries can visit each other just like relatives and become closer and closer to each other. Fourthly, jointly uphold international justice. At present, tariff wars and trade wars are disrupting the global economic and trade system. Power politics and the law of the jungle are prevalent, and the international rules and order have suffered severe impacts. The Global South is highly concerned about how China and India can strengthen cooperation and take the lead to help developing countries overcome difficulties and safeguard international fairness and justice. The essence of trade is to complement each other's advantages and achieve mutual benefits and win-win results, not a calculation of who loses and who gains, nor should it become a tool for pursuing individual selfish interests. The United States has long been benefited greatly from free trade, but now it is using tariffs as a bargaining chip to demand exorbitant prices from various countries. The United States has imposed tariffs of up to 50% on India and is even threatened for more. China firmly opposes it. In the face of such acts, silence or compromise only emboldens the bully. China will firmly stand with India to uphold the multilateral trading system with the World Trade Organization at its core. Dear friends, the SCO is an important platform for multilateral cooperation between China and India. In the 24 years since its establishment, the SCO has adhered to the Shanghai spirit and bolstered cooperation in various fields, starting from security cooperation. It has expanded from 6 member states to a Shanghai family of 26 countries spanning 3 continents, and has become a comprehensive regional organization with the largest geographical coverage and population and huge potential. Since China took over the SCO rotating chairmanship in July last year, China has acted on the slogan, upholding the Shanghai spirit, SCO on the move, and achieved multiple positive progress and outcomes. China has hosted over 100 events as the SCO chair, covering various areas. China has worked with all member states to advance reform and innovation in various aspects, such as the deliberation mechanism, cooperation pattern, and permanent bodies. The SCO has spoken up to uphold justice on major international and regional issues, firmly upheld the multilateral trading system, and strongly condemned the abuse of force, sending a strong message of the SCO upholding peace and justice. The SCO Summit will be held in Tianjin on September the 1st. Leaders from more than 20 countries and heads of 10 international organizations will attend the summit and related events. The Tianjin Summit will be the largest one in the history of the SCO. We are willing to work with all parties, including India, to jointly hold a SCO Summit featuring friendship, solidarity, and fruitful outcomes, and jointly create a shining, South movement in global governance. So, dear friends, ladies and gentlemen, Mahatma Gandhi once said, "Unity is strength. When there is teamwork and collaboration, wonderful things can be achieved." Let us join hands and work hard for a stronger Asia and a better world. And together we can open a new chapter of Dragon Elephant Tango. Thank you very much. Dhanyavad. Thank
you. Thank you, Ambassador Feihong. That was free, that was frank, and I think it covered all issues that we wanted to hear from you. And it didn't leave any elephants out of the room. So thank you so much. And that sets a wonderful context for our next speaker, Ambassador Venkatesh Verma. He's been a doyen of Indian diplomacy. He's been ambassador in Russia. He's been one of our leaders as far as disarmament work is concerned. And above all, he's a dear friend. So, Venkatesh, the floor is yours.
Two most populous nations of the world not seeing eye to eye does not bode well for everyone. With that, I will end my comments. Thank you.
Thank you so much, General Narbane. Again, a pleasure to listen to you. And if we'd not listened to you, then this would have been one of the elephants in the room. You know, we've got to recognize that you know.
Today. So, Honorable Mr. Shishya Pridashi, Honorable Ambassador Venkatesh Verma, Honorable General Mukan Naravan, Honorable Ambassador Nian Sabwal, Honorable Mr. Manish Chand, dear friends, ladies and gentlemen, on the occasion of the 75th anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic relations between China and India, it is a great pleasure for me to share with you about the development of China-India relations and explore right ways for neighboring major countries to get along with each other. First of all, I would like to express my gratitude to the organizers, the Qingtian Research Foundation, and the Center for Global India Insights, and friends from all.
And his colleague who has been working very hard, and the most distinguished panel, and we've already heard them, especially we have amongst us the presence of the ambassador of China. I think that is a special privilege, and that too at a time when we've just had a successful visit of Foreign Minister Wang Yi, which concluded yesterday. It is really a very propitious moment, I should think. I suppose it's the great timing that Chintan Foundation somehow thought of, that so much the pathway and the groundwork has been done already. We more or less know what the readout is going to be, and more when Prime Minister Modi visits Tianjin for the SEO summit. There are twofold, objectives of that and significance of that. For one, it underlines the high importance that India has attached to the principal and original objectives of the SEO, which was combating terrorism, cross-border terrorism. When it just started out as a 5-member organization. I had just been posted in '95, and one of my first tasks was to march up to the Asia department in the MFA. Director General Mr. Wang Yi had just taken over as Director General of Asia Department to make a request or a démarche for India's membership of the SEO. And the second, of course, is connectivity. And I think that, again, without the fact that SCO promotes connectivity without impinging on territorial integrity or sovereignty of member states. And this is extremely important in the region as we are talking about. Added significance, of course, is the opportunity to, I should say, elevate the bilateral dialogue that has been underway since October last year, to resume contact, to resume our normalization of our relations with China, that Prime Minister Modi will have the opportunity to have a summit level meeting with President Xi Jinping. And he has already, at the end of Foreign Minister Wang Yi's visit, in his message on X, summed up that the aspiration of two sides as stable, predictable, constructive ties between the two countries will contribute significantly to the regional and global peace and prosperity. Before one looks at the question I was told we would be looking at are, how does it work really that we've had in our long relations, that we've had phases of excellent relations, mutually beneficial relations, and then we've had long periods of disruption. Even, I should say, relations have been frozen and troubled. And when you think about it, I was just thinking, what really is the answer? That, there is our relations are in a way really unique because, for one, we are bound by the long history of our distant past and a nearer one in contemporary times. Our history and geography compels us to deal with multiple realities, and together they encompass opportunities and challenges. It's the balance between the positive recollections of our relations and the difficult aspects which shape the legacy of our mixed bilateral relations, which now have to find an equilibrium in a more complicated global context. And the totality of relations, I'm happy to note, is one of great promise, but we have also, as I said, seen these disruptions. At the same time, always in different occasions, and I would share shortly the ones that I have personally been privileged to witness and to work for, that they have always been repaired, restored, and reset and imparted, in fact, a greater momentum. And that is only because of the very pragmatic, very wise, and very constructive leadership on both sides. And leaders who recognized that improved relations are in the long-term interest of the people of the two countries, because peace on their periphery is absolutely vital. So, and that is why our leaders then and now have always emphasized that we must not allow our differences to become disputes. So I feel the ongoing efforts to reset relations, particularly the last 2 days that we've seen, it has been a hiatus of almost 5 years, is a very welcome development, Excellency. I think the reach out by India in October 24 might not have met all its objectives then, but it has succeeded in opening or giving a fillip to a conversation which met with a very receptive response, demonstrating once again the strategic patience and the maturity and realism of the two countries in managing the relations. When I think of the occasions, while I'm just talked of disruptions, that in our long history, if we just recall, in the contemporary era, that there have been such promising periods, and which is what gives us the hope that the new beginnings are going to take us to some new heights as well. As I just mentioned, that I was privileged myself to be there in 1976, when our relations were elevated after 1962 to ambassadorial level. Another 3 years, it was the first political level visit, the visit by our foreign minister, Mr. Vajpayee, and meeting with the paramount leader, Vice Premier Deng Xiaoping, at which we were also present in the Great Hall. 1981, the first visit of the Chinese Foreign Minister Huang, a return visit, which decided that official level talks must start again to look at the boundary question. And it took, of course, 6-7 rounds. And finally, it was the work in this period which led to 1988. So what is really has been at stake for the two countries is this great breakthrough, the template of the Deng Xiaoping Rajiv Gandhi modus vivendi, as it is called, which gave us actually decades of stability. And what did it mean? Basically, because three conditions the two sides accepted: that there will be no precondition on the settlement of the boundary, but both sides will work for a fair, mutually acceptable, reasonable solution. Until then, both sides will maintain peace and tranquility, as well as develop confidence-building measures institutionalized through a couple of agreements. And third, that there will be an all-round expansion of the relations. And that is what happened. So I was lucky again to be posted in the mid-90s, where these kind of all-round exchanges from political level interactions, summit level meetings, military to military relations, people to people relations, cultural exchanges, and trade also, which started becoming important in our relations in that period. It provided such a robust and such a sound basis to the relations that another blip which occurred when India decided to go nuclear in 1998, that too was stormed by the strength of the stability of this relationship, that after some initial difficulty, it was the normalcy and normalization was restored and a new momentum was imparted. And that period saw again in early 2003 that there was an added urgency to address the border question. The institution and the mechanism of the special representatives was set up just 2 years later. And before that, of course, China recognized Sikkim formally as a part of India. In 2005 is the agreement, the most famous agreement on the border, which the general just referred to, on the political parameters and principles on the boundary settlement. And the crowning act was really China's offer of a strategic partnership to India. So this was really the state of and very robust convergence on global issues, on global challenges. And it was almost like we were partners, and this was the legacy of the 1950s, where both the countries, having had experience of anti-colonial struggle, having had that kind of a third world solidarity, then very often in the international negotiations, in the UN, in multilateral affairs, India and China stood on the same side of the argument. On climate change, even on human rights, I think that often we stood together. Then, of course, there was, on a general, the ideology or the philosophy of working together for a more equitable, a fairer, and a more balanced world order. Alas, China's economic success in 2008, 2009, the global financial meltdown, China went, this the early 2003, 2005, both countries were rising more or less at the same level. 2008, 2009, China was ahead of us by leaps and bounds, I think. And of course, we were extremely gratified to see China's success. But such a vast differential was bound to bring a power differential. And this is what slowly started seeping into our problems, and we entered a difficult era. Which Ambassador himself has referred to, and so have the other speakers. And slowly by 2012, 13, 14, we even started seeing massive build-up of the infrastructure, the military, and intrusions across the line of actual control. And what we saw then in 2020, all these taken together were bound to adversely affect the relations. But that is the silver lining. 5 years later, both sides are ready, and they're ready to dialogue and to look for new ways. And in that, I would have, some suggestions, if I might, Ambassador, that particularly, I feel in today's times, when somehow forging convergences and managing differences or divergences is increasingly becoming the way.
Good morning, sir. Morning. The tomatoes look good. What should I grow next year, though? How can my farm adapt to climate change?
You only progress when you ask better questions. Mint. Think ahead, think growth.
Features and titles. Both sides, but certainly we have a very solid background to the relations we've had, but both sides will have to endeavor to add more to the positive side of our account or the positive side of our ledger. Perhaps crucial in this will be or could be the effort to accommodate each other's concerns arising from our relationship with other key partners. Not always is your friendship or relationship with a third country conceived to be directed against your other friend, but it is for other objectives that you want to modernize, you want to transform your economy. So perhaps a better, more transparency could help both sides while keeping commitments to the essential key partners. Also, I feel a better understanding of each other's regional initiatives. This is, to reduce the mistrust. I think neither side is very comfortable with each other coming into their region. We are not with China's more active profile in South Asia, and I'm sure China is not with our playing a more active role in Southeast Asia. But there are many organizations, multilateral, regional, and bilateral, that we could address it. In short, I think we need to manage India-China relations, which have to be worked out for in the changed circumstances, a new modus vivendi. 1988 template is now finished. It cannot really address the complexities and the multiplicity of the issues which have come in the relationship. But one of the basic assurances that India, I think, will be looking for is an assurance from China that it will not be pursuing a policy of confrontation and that the two sides will not be facing each other as antagonistic adversary on their periphery. I think that is probably going to be something important. So maybe towards that, it will be useful for both sides to return to the agreements. There's already a hint of that in the foreign minister's visit, and they need to be upgraded and some additional ones developed. It will also perhaps be useful to start, again, I think the hint is there, to start the LSE clarification exercise. And as far as our economic relations, which holds the biggest potential, some mistakes will have to be learned from the past. I think somewhere we will have to see where we might have made mistakes by just not following any regulations, and somewhere where our Chinese friends can just see where better access, better opportunity can be given to India's world-class companies in IT, pharma. So I was very encouraged, Excellency, when you mentioned that these are the areas perhaps that we could collaborate with. And of course, we are heartened by Foreign Minister Wangi's assurances that some of the very critical inputs that our industry now needs China will be looking at them to make them available to the Indian industry. And we really hope once our economic and business relationships are developed on a sound basis, that will probably give us a very lasting kind of a trajectory in developing a very positive future relation. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Such a pleasure listening to you. And at least I've taken very close notes of the recommendations that you made. It will certainly form a part the white paper that we intend to draft after this. Let me now have the pleasure of welcoming Manish Jan, who is the founder and the Chief Executive Officer of the Center for Global India Insights. But more importantly, he is, the co-host. He and I, would meet over a number of such events, and then we thought we should do something together. And part of the reason also is that we did happen to go to the same college, though I must admit it was slightly, don't tell them it was more than a decade apart. That would make me feel very, very old. But really, Manish, thank you for all your help and support. And can I now offer you the floor here?
Thank you, Mr. Priyadarshi, for those warm words. It's been a real delight to partner with you, and he's been modest in his introducing others. But one of the great things is that he's so full of positivity.